With the enzyme coloring assignment. So when you look at this, it looks like just a bunch of blobs, right? And some of them are kind of connecting together. Well, these things represent enzymes, and hopefully you just kind of remember a little bit about what you just learned from the enzyme video. And enzymes are actually protein molecules, and they are molecules found in every single living thing. And what they do is they speed up reactions in living things. And when you have an enzyme that works in a living thing, it actually will connect to something else to cause a reaction to happen. So looking at this worksheet right here, what you are going to do is you are going to follow these directions right over here about what's going on. Okay? So you choose your colors. I don't really care what colors you use. But when you do this, you want to find what you think is the enzyme. And I will tell you the enzyme is the molecule that never changes its shape. Even though different steps happen or different parts of the reaction happen, the enzyme's shape never changes. So if you look at this crazy blobby looking thing right here, and obviously this is just like a drawing of a three-dimensional protein structure, that would be the enzyme. And the way that I know that is that all of the molecules in every step of this reaction, step 1 and then step 2, the enzyme basically looks the same. In the second, from the step on the left to the step on the right, it does connect with something, but when it disconnects in step 2, it looks exactly the same. So choose a color and color those enzymes that color. If you want to pause the video here, you can do that in order to do that coloring. In the beginning of the reaction, the molecule that connects to the enzyme is always called the substrate. I'm actually going to change my color here. So this thing right here is going to be the substrate. The substrate is always the molecule that the enzyme acts on. So I always like to use lactose because there are some people that are lactose intolerant. And you have an enzyme in your body called lactase that can connect to lactose. And lactose is the sugar found in milk products. Milk, ice cream, cheese, that kind of thing. If you have the lactase enzyme, that would be this right here, it will connect to the substrate lactose, that would be here, and it will actually break it down. And what happens then is that, if your body has lactase, it will break down the lactose sugar. You feel fantastic after you eat milk products. But if you don't have it, you can't break it down. And so you become lactose, or you are lactose intolerant, and it causes lots of problems in your body. Now, a couple things about that reaction. There is this word right here, this term, active site. The active site is the place on the enzyme. I'm going to change my color again. How about a little green? Is the place on the enzyme. So it's basically that outside line that the substrate is going to connect to. And that's called the active site because that's where the action is actually happening. The next one is the enzyme substrate complex. And here we have the enzyme and we have the substrate. So if you want to use some color to represent those two things, by the way, pick a color for the substrate, pick a color to outline the active site in, and pick a color to make the enzyme substrate complex. So this right here is the enzyme substrate complex. And then in the final step, step 2, you'll see that the substrate has broken down. Once it breaks down, it turns into something new called the product. So these two things are product right here. So you would choose a color for those. On the blank lines, it says to write a brief description of what's happening in the process. Just do your best with that. If you want to rewind the video and listen to me, go ahead. But I'm really looking for you to go ahead and color these different pieces. On the next sheet, the next page, I should say, it's very similar, but I want you to use the specific colors that you see in this chart. Okay, so see if you can do it again by yourself using the specific colors in this chart. If you have any questions, let me know.